Hi, I'm Karen Fullerton, an energetic catalyst for positive change. What is that? It's who I am, not what I do. I come from a past of business and marketing, but through all of that, I encouraged transformational change. I do that now through speaking and energy individual sessions, as well as collective, is what this message is about today. Specifically, this message is for those who are Lightworkers, spiritual leaders, or those who should be, who have the gifts of intuition and align with energy and the interest in metaphysics, but who also specifically might be having issues related to the jaw or the teeth, especially items that have been repeating, unable to be healed, or maybe have had corrective action without eliminating the issue, meaning that it's repeating elsewhere as well. You see, I leaned into a core limiting belief portal that I found with an energy session, a self-energy session. Actually, it was a combined energy session with somebody else that I know who is a well-known psychic. And he was floored when I told him about the issues that I had been having with my jaw and teeth, meaning I was just recently, actually about 4 months ago, thrown into extreme pain and felt like my teeth were kind of moving, but they weren't, and jaw pain from not being able to eat on that side. The TMJ triggered and then brought back all this trauma from when I had a root canal done in the past to have the feeling in half of my tongue be compromised for like 10 months. He had the same thing happen to him about a year ago, which had happened to me 4 months ago. He had also been to the experts of different, periodontists and oral surgeons, as well as regular dentists, and nobody really could find the issue, which in itself is a blessing because, how many times in the past have some experts maybe recommended treatment to see if it would reduce or eliminate the pain for it to be not the case, not the root problem. So I did a joint energy session, and it's those findings I wish to share with you today because it's relating to the core limiting belief in a collective portal of those types of people that I spoke about in the beginning. You who might be that spiritual leader or the energy worker, light worker, or even if it's not what you think it should look like. Maybe you're a nurse or a parent, but you have these same qualities of intuition and wishing to speak your truth and your voice, possibly in a new business to help others, right, as a way shower. What I found is going to help eliminate some of the energy blocks that have been forming as a collective, which really stems back from a past time period. We're talking quantum energy when we're talking about healing and shifting from the past, whether you resonate with past lives or if it is more comfortable for you to think of this as DNA healing, because it is scientifically proven that trauma does pass down through DNA. In fact, the works of people like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who showed us that the protein receptor in each individual cell is like the brain, not the nucleus. And this means that the senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, feeling, are what drives our cellular structure. And it was Dr. Candace Pert who led us to know that emotions, right, the emotions that we feel when we're triggered create these chemical reactions in our body. All this is part of the autonomic nervous system. And of course, my teacher, Dr. Darren Weissman, who I became certified in for the Lifeline technique as a form of mind and energy work. This all correlates to where I hope to share with you some findings to clear patterns in the jaw, patterns in the digestive, patterns with feeling not safe to share your truth on your path and as you elevate your consciousness. This is going to help you feel that inner power and that knowingness of who you are without needing to convince others to follow you. And where this stems from is a time period, what you may know as the witch trials. But we're not talking about sorcery or witchery or magic as much as we're talking about in that time period, people owning their intuition, people being in tune with their heart and their soul and knowing that everything is energy. Perhaps in that time, there were people who communed with nature and knew how much nature was a part of us as humans, that we thrive with nature. We can thrive with nature when we go that route and allow it versus just being in survival, fight or flight mode. Can you imagine somebody in that time being in the presence of somebody who maybe was a gardener and whose crops flourished when others hadn't, maybe seen as sorcery or witchcraft? In that time period, people were tortured, persecuted, hanged, burned at the stake for their ideas that really are what we know as intuition today, as our connection to God or spirit, divine source, and being led on our heart's path. We're so blessed that we're in a different time frame today. But what's still having a hold on this group as a collective are the past remnants of that disempowered energy that needs to be processed through the system. And simply by my sharing this message, if you're still listening, this is going to be a healing for you and the collective as well. Specifically, when you feel these emotions, when people either say to you, you're crazy for what you believe in, and then that internal voice of self-doubt, can I really do this? This is hard. I don't want to I don't want to be looked at as differently. Or even the reverse side of that, sharing so overtly, but then being met with, that block, the people who are not ready to hear what you have to say, as well as shifting patterns of physical representation in the jaw. This message is for you to help shift that energy. Everything is energy. For me, whether you believe in past lives or the DNA processing, for me, my jaw and my teeth, after I went the pattern of going through all these experts and nothing really happening, forced me to go inside and to do more energy work and more leaning in. And I'm so glad I did, because it was a blessing that I didn't get some teeth pulled or worse for something that now is corrected. And for me, it does go back to the witch trials. And if you think of somebody who is hanged, in a certain way, the jaw would be pulled back. My jaw for many, many years has been way back, disconnecting or pressuring the nerves in my jaw, which really is the source of all of the tooth pain and the jaw issues, and maybe even some of the other treatment that I had done that is the reason that it didn't correct the action. Now, after leaning in, my jaw literally has shifted, physically shifted with energy work. And I have a bite that I have never had before. Yes, I do have the help. I did get a bite splint, they call it, to help me at night. And that also is showing that we can pair medical with metaphysical to help us within the balance of ourselves, knowing we can heal on our own with the balance when necessary of medical intervention without just blindly following experts anymore. That's not the way that it is anymore. We're being called into our own power and our own healing through the body. We're being asked to bring that spiritual learning that we have had over the years to actually apply it within and to our own selves, to the physical world that previously we had not felt safe in, that has carried on through the witch trials and those persecutions of the past. By leaning in and knowing that this sense of triggering and not feeling balanced, not feeling nurturing, and not feeling nurtured when we are doing our work, our desire to speak and to help people evolve, comes from a past experience. And how we can learn to grow is by leaning into the emotions specifically of self-loathing and lack of self-respect as a byproduct of that time. That was that environment that is showing up for you, within you. And to help clear those patterns, just by realizing this original occurrence is going to help that shift. And even more so by knowing that owning your power within and not having to elicit the control outward to convince others is going to help that shift even more. And processing the grief that went along with those past times from a cellular level. And pulling that in by processing the grief in your life will also help to connect those two and bridge those two together. So what this message really is, or what I wanted to share with you, as a collective, this is a pain body portal. If you've listened this far, you've already started that healing. If you've been wondering why certain patterns of the jaw and the teeth, or even the digestion, has not been clearing, if you've been wondering why you still can't own your power and not care, right? You know from the heart that you have a message and you want to share, yet it's still difficult for you to be totally unaffected by others' viewpoints, or the need to convince others simply, again, from your heart to help them to grow and evolve. This is the time to release that, to let others experience their own growth in their own time. We have the gift to shift what happened back in those times of persecution, right? By people being so fearful of what they heard from others who had an elevated intuition and viewpoint at the time, right? That they were put to death. We have the chance to break that pattern and allow others to have their viewpoint where it doesn't affect us. We don't have to barrage them with facts or evidence. We just have to be. You have to be yourself. You are going to show them the evolution by the progress in your own life. That doesn't mean to squash your voice. If you feel led to share and to teach, by all means do so. But if somebody isn't resonating with it, having that internal power to know, okay, this is their path. I'm not going to berate them or persecute them to, stop that pattern in its tracks of what had happened in the past. Know that all of this stems from the past of being shut down, your truth being shut down, your gifts being shut down, your God-given gifts, your spiritual gifts, what we all have is intuition. And be thankful that in today, we are evolving at a great speed and it is much, much more accepted. This is the message that I wanted to share with you to help you if you've been questioning or wondering why things have been stagnant in this area. I am Karen Fullerton, a transformational teacher for heart-led change. Hearts Connected.